Okay, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I know we have over 800 participants registered from across Africa and all over the world with the different time zones. I just want to greet everybody who will join us today. Welcome to the launch of ergy Africa. I'm grateful for the opportunity to celebrate this important milestone. We all know that Africa is a continent of incredible potential, and it's a home to the world's fastest growing population and a booming tech ecosystem. However, Africa is also facing a number of challenges, including climate change, poverty, lack of youth and female founders, and most of all, what I believe, entrepreneurial system that still hasn't found its own authentic and original way of functioning. And we're here today to work with all of you together to make a change. And so before we start our panel discussion, and you see we have amazing people with us today who will be speaking and sharing their experience and their thoughts about what would be the best way how to collaborate and make a change and the long-term impact. I'd like to share just a little bit about our mission. ergy is a global organization that is committed to building a sustainable entrepreneurial system across the global south. And we believe that entrepreneurship is really the key to solving the world's most pressing problems. And our commitment is specifically to support the next generation of African entrepreneurs across the region. And this Africa launch marks a new chapter for ergy as well as for the global south, because our goal is to help establish sustainable entrepreneurial system. They're specifically carved for this own region and with a focus on sustainable technologies, and to provide the African startups and SMEs as well with the support and resources they need to succeed. We are planning to do this with enabling the resources through the SusTech, sustainable technology expertise, startup support, and opportunities for funding, for financial support, as well as mentorship and easy access to the foreign markets, to the developing markets where product or services can be placed. And through this cross collaboration and partnerships, we plan to impact the development of the policies across all countries in Africa to support the growth of the sustainable technology sector in Africa. And in this panel, what you can expect in the next 45 minutes is really a discussion led around the crucial questions about what are the biggest challenges facing African entrepreneurship, what are the opportunities, what kind of support the African entrepreneurs need to succeed, and how can collaboration and partnerships help strengthen the entrepreneurial ecosystem across Africa. And so at this point, I would like to ask my colleague Svetlana to take over, introduce our amazing speakers today, and so that we can start and share more things, valuable things for all of you. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much, Katarina. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're joining us today. My name is Svetlana Nyameo. I am seated in Nairobi, Kenya this afternoon, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to today's discussion. I am the Africa Program Lead at ergy, and we are keen on working with startups, all startups actually, be it in blue economy, circular economy, sustainable tech, but especially those that are female-founded or youth-led. And our mission is to help each of these startups integrate sustainability as operational and foundational value and leverage sustainable technology to build great businesses that generate long-term benefits for the economy, society, and the environment. Well, to today's discussion, across Africa, SMEs and startups are a significant mechanism for social economic growth, accounting for approximately 80% of jobs on the continent, up to 90% of the population in African countries, such as Uganda, Ethiopia, and Kenya, are employed within the SMEs, and are approximately 54 million SMEs just in sub-Saharan Africa. Well, for this discussion, I will not be alone. I am joined by an experienced panel here today. Perhaps I will give them a chance to introduce themselves in their own words. But to start, I have with me today Antonia Norman, the CEO of the Women in the UN Women Global Lead and ex-CEO, board member at Brownson Center of Entrepreneurship, South Africa. I also have Kemilembe Barongo, he's the Corporate Affairs Counsel, and who will share her valuable insights on the art of creating and scaling sustainable businesses. With me also is Leila, who will share experience and knowledge as Insights and Advocacy Manager at GSNA Tech Program, and her commitment of driving innovation for climate in the less and middle income countries. Also, we have Jumande Tamba, who is the CEO of Sahara Ventures, and not to forget Dr. Dese Umuhoho is the founder of Innovator for Africa and author Innovation in Africa, building an entrepreneurial ecosystem for growth and prosperity. We would also like to introduce Diane Tucker, founder of the Human Capital Initiative Organization, whose Impact Innovation Fund have chosen SusTech Powerhouse as the leading organization to deliver entrepreneurial fellowship programs the next 3 years. The fund has a pledge of $300 million US dollars to leverage technology for the greater good. Thank you, Diane, for all your support. I really hope I have included everyone in this introduction. But perhaps, Antonia, in your own words, why are you calling today? And a brief introduction of what you do. I don't know, but we're having some trouble hearing you.
There we go. Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Antonia Norman from South Africa, and I'm very excited to be here with the awesome people on the panel and also from Exergy. I'm looking forward to having a nice discussion today and tapping into some nice takeaway solutions and identifying challenges and looking at opportunities. I work globally. I work essentially with entrepreneurs as well as business leaders and management, and teaching our corporate managers how to lead effectively, as well as assisting and supporting entrepreneurs globally with regards to sustainability, moving from that survive to thrive mentality, overcoming challenges, and just trying to get business going. So essentially, we do that through Business Pros Global, and a chapter of that is the Women Within. So huge focus on women-owned businesses and leaders. But of course, we work across the board with everyone, small businesses across the board. So by means of programs and introductions to VCs and partners and private sector. And this is what we do to assist business and commerce globally and locally in Africa.
To have you on the panel, and also Kemilembe, why are you calling us from today, and perhaps a brief introduction of what you do.
Hello, everybody. I don't know. Can you hear me? I hope you can hear me. Okay, thank you. My name's Kemilembe Barongo. I'm calling from Tanzania. I'm so excited to be here and join you on this discussion on how we can develop and start and provide funding for startups and talk about the opportunities and the challenges and how we can move forward as Africa and as the world, like how we can move forward to a united front. So basically, I'm a lawyer. I'm a corporate lawyer. I work in a law firm. It's called Porton Legal. What we basically do, or what I basically do, because lawyers do a lot of things. So what I basically do is help startups in what they do, help them with their legal compliance, help them with maintaining their business integrity, help them to ensure that they can survive in the corporate field or in their business transactions. Yes, and I'm very excited to be here and listen to everyone's insights. Thank you, Svedana.
Thank you, Kemilimbi. Jumane, the holiday where you are today, where is that and what do you do?
Hello, everyone. I'm calling from Dar es Salaam. It's a Maulid day, so it's a public holiday here. I'm calling from home. My name is Jumanne Mtambalike. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Sahara Ventures. Our mission is to build innovation ecosystem in Africa. We are very excited to see XH coming to Tanzania and explore potential collaboration in this market. I believe this is the beginning of something great. We work with startups, helping them to raise capital, linking them to strategic partners who can help them to move to the next stage. But Sahara Venture also as a group, we have a management consulting wing, which is focusing on implementing different projects and initiatives that support startups and early stage businesses. But also every year we host a marketplace for a startup from across the African continent to be matchmaked with prospective investors. The upcoming marketplace is around October. So we are looking forward to engage, work so that we can build a more robust and sustainable innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem in Africa. Very excited to be here. Thank you, guys.
Happy to have you here as well, Jumane. Perhaps Leila, where you're joining us, is it a full working day? What do you do, please?
Yes, it's a full working day here. I'm in London. First of all, thank you very much for having me and congratulations on your Africa launch. My name is Leila. I work for GSMA, the Climate Tech Program. Just to give you a brief overview of who we are and what we do, GSMA is the Association for Mobile Network Operators. I work for Mobile for Development, which is their international development arm. And we work with a bunch of different programs. So we have programs looking at humanitarian action or gender equality, and I work specifically in the climate tech team. And what we do is we work with research on the role of digital technology within climate in different topics. Our focus has recently been on climate finance, the circular economy, and natural resource management. We also work with advocacy and market engagement through creating partnerships within the sector and also supporting startups through our innovation fund. So we have recently had a couple of rounds looking at climate adaptation and resilience solutions in low and middle income countries, and a lot of them come from Africa. Thank you very much.
I have you, Leila. And Dr. Desai, how are you?
I am very well, thank you. So nice to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Desai Omurowo, and I'm an advocate of innovation. I believe I am passionate about innovation, and I believe in the potentials innovation has to change things, particularly for the African continent, for businesses, for individuals. And as founder of Innovate for Africa, what we do is to see how we can support businesses and individuals, not just startups, but already established businesses, to be able to create value and grow using innovation, and so that they can compete in the environment we find ourselves, which is very competitive. On the other hand, I'm an author and also an academic researcher.
Happy to have you on board, Dr. Desai.
Thank you.
And perhaps now as we join, as we launch into our discussion, and be a guest, I'd encourage you to leave your questions in the public chat, and we shall be taking them to the panel. If not, then we can address you directly after this discussion. Antonia, I started with you. I was curious to learn about perhaps your experience. What has your experience been with startups ecosystem in Africa? Could you say it is thriving? Could you say it has been stifled? Just to know your experience.
I believe there's a surge of entrepreneurial hunger in Africa as a whole, and there's a surge of thriving entrepreneurs that are eager to get their businesses going and get pumping. You know, Africa is like the bedding rock of entrepreneurial activity for obvious reasons, because of our circumstances and because of the landscape, loss of employment and poverty and all of these things, and human nature is to go into that survive mode. So there's a lovely surge that's happening in Africa. Do we, in terms of entrepreneurs, do we have the support from governments and private sector and all of the different partners? Not there yet. Okay, so whilst we have this plethora of entrepreneurs from idea phase along the course of growth and continuing on, there's also a lack of. So I believe that we're still in a very survival state mentality because of the huge pipeline of entrepreneurs that still don't have access to various things like finance and markets and resources. But it's a huge opportunity in Africa. The problems we will address probably with the other panelists, and I don't want to go there, but having discussions like this, getting private sector more involved, getting governments more involved is very important. And then walking away and doing more about it. Because often in Africa, we love speaking about things and our strategies are wonderful, but implementation just doesn't happen as often. It's on paper, it's in closed doors. And the real deal is when you walk out in the streets of Africa, from Ghana to Nigeria to Senegal, and the different environments and ecosystems that reside there. There's a hunger and thirst for business because people have to survive. Now, we're needing to move that mentality to the thrive mode. But we absolutely are surging with potential in Africa. We're still waiting to get those unicorns going, but we're surging. And what's incredibly interesting is we have the support. Being an entrepreneur myself, sitting in my lounge, you know, you're your own PA and your own everything. We don't have the luxury of Finexco. We don't have the luxury of access to information. So whilst we have wonderful minds, innovative minds, we have Africans that are ready to take off, the runway is short because of access to opportunities. But we do have the surge of entrepreneurs, absolutely.
Beautiful. And what about you, Kemilembe? You're coming from a legal background. How is policy hindering or incubating or enabling African startups?
Svetlana, before we move, sorry, I just wanted to make sure that if anybody had any comment or anything in mind to share, Antonia actually had a great point here, and I love how she mentioned the a plan and intention on working on it, but implementation and execution is a problem. And Africa is not the only country. We're looking at the global south. It has the challenge with execution and implementation. And so working with a lot of startups, we usually take a look and see, in their business ideas, they don't want to share, but it's not really that much point in the business idea. It's in the execution and implementation. And I know that the others on the panel also have a lot of experience in that. So please do share that. And Svetlana, if you don't mind, then we'll move to another question, but I would love to focus on this a little bit.
If anyone would like to take the stage, or just unmute and then respond to the question.
Yeah, I think.
Juman, please, and then Leila.
No, please. Someone started, so they. I think someone was
okay, I'll just start it off,
Is it
and then you can finish it up.
Please.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Antonia was saying. that also Africa is a big continent. We have a lot of diversity also within Africa. There's a big difference looking at countries like Kenya and Nigeria, where you see a lot of startups and a lot of entrepreneurs coming up, and other countries that maybe don't have the same possibilities. So there's also the big diversity within the continent. Something that we've seen through our innovation fund, though, that's very encouraging is that in our previous round, 90% of the applicants from Africa were applying with projects that were developed in country, which means that you get African solutions by African people. And I think that is super encouraging, and that's really what we need to see this happening, where you find a problem that you want to solve, and that's how you start your innovation career. And that, I think, is really encouraging.
Just to add on, first, I agree with the point that Tonya made, and also the issue of being a very diverse continent. We have very different problems in terms of the context and background. You have countries that traditionally are set a few miles ahead because of how they're designed. And places like Nigeria, they have a very strong diaspora community. If you look at Kenya, specifically Nairobi, there's a very strong expatriate ecosystem. If you look at South Africa, they have an history of a very strong private sector. The same thing if you look at Cairo in Egypt, there's a very strong market in terms of access of the MENA region. So we have to be very careful in terms of how we define the context and maturity of these ecosystems. But one thing in common, there is that passion, the zeal, that commitment to build great businesses is there. We're seeing a lot of young African entrepreneurs right now trying to solve some of the most complex problems within the societies. The issues of having plans and strategies, but not transforming them into anything that is more concrete in terms of practicability and application of it, I think it boils down to the issue of leadership and to what extent African leaders understand the role innovation and entrepreneurship can play to transform the continent. So I feel we have a lot to play as ecosystem actors, whether it's academic researchers, whether entrepreneurship support organizations, or the private sector companies and other corporate organizations, to come together to help African governments and policymakers to understand how important this movement is, so that they can better make quick decisions that can actually give us the results we are looking for. And that is something that we as Sahara Ventures were trying to do in Tanzania through our ecosystem approach towards supporting innovators and entrepreneurs.
Okay, so to add to what other speakers have said, I believe there are potentials. We have there are great opportunities that entrepreneurs can take in Africa, but sometimes you just need to push someone towards the right direction. That's mentorship, support. Some entrepreneurs are stuck because having taken the first step, they don't know the next step to take. So by the time you get the necessary support, then you know what step am I supposed to take next, and then that helps you to continue your path.
Does that mean that there's two sides? One is that they need encouragement, support, self-confidence, maybe that their business idea has a potential to become a sustainable business and profitable business as well. But on another side, we have the ecosystem involving the policymakers as well that are enabling or disabling the flow of the entrepreneurship. Is that maybe the case?
Okay, so they have yeah, like I said, the potentials are there, but on the other side, apart from the support,
I think we seem to have lost Dr. Tadese, but anyone else could. Yes, I can hear you now, but your voice is breaking a bit.
Okay. Okay, so what I was saying was that we have to come to reality, or be real with ourselves to say the world is moving. We have to move with the world. We can't be stagnant when every other person is moving. So that's for us. If every other person can't do this, we can do this. Yes, we have the potentials, but I mean, no matter how experienced you are, you still need help. You still need sometimes some kind of guidance to put you on the right path. So with collaborations, partnerships, it can help us because there's so much to learn. There's so much information that we need to help us to move from where we are, develop our local knowledge so that we can get to where we want to.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, and this is very important piece of the whole trajectory of entrepreneurship. But one thing that I would like also to ask everybody on the panel is, what about the sustainable technology? How does technology plays, and what's the role of technology in the overall ecosystem? And how does it relate to all of those points that we mentioned so far?
So I can start. I think technology is a cross-cutting issue right now. Most of the traditional businesses that used to be there with a very slow, painful growth are getting a chance right now to be disrupted and to become exponential businesses. Technology has increased. Of course, you can look at it two different angles. It has increased access to some of the solutions that in one way or the other would have never been able to access them, but also has reduced the barrier for entry in the market. Most of the traditional African businesses were resource intensive, but right now a computer science graduate or an IT graduate can just start their own business just by having a laptop and having the skills to code an application. So I think that is something that technology has brought into the market. But another thing which is also very important as far as SusTech is concerned, sustainable techs, it's a new concept. This whole thing of whether it's cycle economy, green economy, sustainable economy, they're very new concepts in Africa. There might be a lot of entrepreneurs right there right now who are actually working on projects or solutions or products that are actually sustainable tech, but they don't even know if what they're working on is sustainable tech. You know, some of them, they might be in cycle economy. Some of them might be developing just solutions that are environmental friendly. So I think it's very, very important, first of all, to make sure we create enough knowledge and information on what is sustainable tech so that they can better understand that they're actually working on sustainable tech. And second, I also think is imperative to show they need to build businesses beyond shareholders' interest, to build businesses with triple bottom line, where they're also conscious about people, about the environment, beyond just creating money and generating profits. And this is something which we need to do very early so that we can build the foundation. By the time they become big businesses, they become responsible businesses, which is something that we're missing in most of the African businesses. So I think in terms of sustainable technology, it's a new concept. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. And we have a unique opportunity to grow with the new founders and early stage businesses, youth-driven businesses. So eventually they can have a long-term impact in terms of their understanding, but also treating sustainability at the core of their business models. Thank you.
Yes, if I can just chip in as well. On my side, I totally agree with what Jumanne said, but I also believe to ensure that we have a proper sustainable system, we need to have proper proper regulations, proper rules, proper laws that are set up. So far, there's a lot of lacuna in that aspect. There's a big gap in that aspect. We have laws, yes, but there are a lot of aspects that are not covered, that don't talk about sustainability, that don't talk about the long run, that don't talk about environmental impacts. So we need to we need to start discussions on the way forward, and we need to move in a way that involves the law. Like we need to create laws that support technology, sustainable technology, that support startups, that support founders. There's a lot of bureaucracy, there's a lot of administrative delays. A lot of people are facing a lot of challenges with. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, a lot of people are facing challenges and delays with building the startups, with setting up. As a lawyer, I'm always supporting people who are doing the startups. You face administrative delays from day one, like from the moment you want to set up your company. You go to the registration people, they're so relaxed. It's like it's not their problem. You deal with it. So people get discouraged. You find investors coming all the way here and they want to set up their companies, but after a week and after following up, they're like, you know what, I'm just going to go back to my home because this is too much, too many delays, too much funds, too much corruption. Like you always have to give something, you always have to push. I think the policies and the laws and the regulations also need to be considered, also need to be part of the change. I think that's my input on that.
I absolutely agree with that. There needs to be an enabling environment from the policy side in order for the ecosystem to thrive as well. Talking about the point on technology, it can also be an enabler to access finance. For example, through, now that we're talking about Africa, through using mobile money, for example, can through which you can access smaller loans, and that way at least get a start. Another point that I wanted to point out was that when you're looking at technology and in low and middle income countries in particular, access to finance can be quite tricky, obviously. And if we then throw in all the challenges that we see with the policies that you just mentioned, we need a support system. And what I'm thinking about here is the collaboration of all of it together. And that is what I think that you are trying to build also through Exergy. And that these are all the partnerships that the whole ecosystem needs to come together. We all need to work together. And I think that's the main point that I kind of want to come across today, that we all need to collaborate with each other.
I'm sorry, are you hearing me? Okay, my name is Rui Bruno, and I'm a guy that knows more about the financial part, okay? And of course, the part that it's the venture capitals or the brokers, whatever the investors, what they are looking for, okay? Of course, if we keep it like a problem to manage it's more easier if we make together everything in the same hub, because in that case, the hub have support, legal support and information that can take us to talk with investors, with the venture capitals that are all over the world looking for projects, new ideas, new ways of seeing the things. But one thing it's important to them, when they say, yes, we go, then they only want to talk from an easy way of financial part. They are not waiting that every one of us think that I can make in my own country with my own laws and all the things, okay? Because they are looking for always a better solution, because when they put the money, of course, what they are looking for, or a product, a solution, or just return of the money, okay? That's the part of normally what they do it. And I was listening to all of you, and I understand that exist the laws of the country, but it's more simple. It's more simple when we are just in the same hub, because the hub give more tranquility to the investors, to the guys that multinationals, whatever, put the money. Okay, because for
Yeah.
instance, a simple way,
Yeah.
each one of them have an NDA, each one of them, and I talk with several funds. Okay, funds that are from Portugal, funds that are from Spain, that are from US, whatever. Okay, and each one of them have NDA. When we try to say to them, but
Yeah. So perhaps we could also have a round, of what do you think are the biggest opportunities for SMEs or startups in Africa from your own experience? And please feel free to anyone to jump into this.
Sorry, I didn't hear you well. You were asking the opportunities for startups in Africa.
Yeah, what do you think are the biggest opportunity or areas of opportunities for startups in Africa?
Okay, so first of all, I think this is a perfect time for anyone to build business in Africa. Africa is the youngest continent in the world. I think the age average of my country, Tanzania, is around 17.9. Like, so likely if you walk out right now, you'll find a teenager on the road. You are talking about the content that is getting more urbanized than ever before. 15 of the fastest growing cities in the world, they're all located in Africa. So it's an amazing time. You have a significant chunk of a market for anything that you're trying to build. But at the same time, you have an army of individuals who could potentially impact your business positively as talent. We're seeing what's happening in Nigeria, what's happening in Kenya. The freelancing and the gig economy is flourishing. A lot of young people are selling their skills online, capitalizing on the internet economy. Google and IFCs are estimating Africa's internet economy to reach 180 billion US dollar by 2025. So there's a unique opportunity right now. I'm very optimistic. There are some things that needs to be fixed, of course. You have issues around policies and regulations. Traditionally, governments in Africa used to work with SMEs, so they don't understand much about startups. And that's why these movements around startup policies, around startup acts that's happening across the continent right now is critical, because that's the only way we can be able to capitalize on this transformation and what's happening. But at the same time, it's also a unique opportunity because the size of the African middle class is increasing. Our digital literacy rate as a continent is increasing. Mobile penetration and internet penetration is also increasing. So I would say this is a perfect time for an entrepreneur to build a business. And you can actually build a Pan-African business if you capitalize on technology. We see the stories of PayStack, the story of Trigger, the story of Nara. These are other potential African unicorns, and some of them are unicorns already. In terms of what Rui was saying of kind of setting up regulations and policies that are kind of standard across countries, it is something possible, but it's very difficult to achieve from 54 countries. We are seeing the move for the Africa Free Continental Agreement to easy movement of people and capital across borders, but it's something that might take time, and entrepreneurs actually need investment right now. And make no mistake, capital is already flowing in Africa. In the past 5 or 6 years, we've been able to raise more than $5 billion that is coming to as a VC investment to African companies. But the key issue is, how do we do more than that? How do we reach out to more people? How do we transform more grassroots local entrepreneurship ecosystem? Is again by what my good sister was saying around creating a strategy for collaboration and strategic partnership. So I'm seeing a lot of opportunities, and this is the perfect time to build business in Africa against all odds, against all the negativity. But this is like the most perfect time to support a venture, invest in African ventures, but also investing in African talents.
So we must be careful not to zoom our lenses into a very shortened sight. And I say this because, for example, in South Africa, our youth unemployment is over 60%, right? And we know that over 80% of businesses fail in the first 12 months. So there are challenges it is not roses. We have a pipeline of young entrepreneurs ready to get seeded in and built up, but we do not have the support required for all of them. You could ask all of the entrepreneurs that are here, the founders that are here. There are gaps in the system. And the sooner we stop trying to look at just through our lenses with what we're doing in our own context and start to broaden our horizon like Exergy is doing, then the quicker we'll be able to fast track our efforts. Because I come across entrepreneurs across Africa, and particularly in South Africa. 3 years they'll stay at one incubator or one accelerator. They'll stay there. It's a home away from home. There's no movement to the next level. So there has to be a proper funnel of opportunities that we are giving our entrepreneurs as private sector, as government, as VCs, as all of these accelerators and incubators that are going to purposefully streamline the process from idea phase coming through. And I keep saying this because I'm worried that we're focusing on the cream of the crop and we're lacking in what's coming through. So more needs to be done in Africa for the entrepreneurs. For example, all of the panelists sitting here, you know what the challenge is? We'll go away and we won't even talk to each other after this event. Okay, we need to get, the networking starts here. So we need to get together and we need to say, okay, we've all got these different strong arms. How do we get together and flourish our efforts? Because we can never do enough. And if we have that mentality and almost, we must never be in denial about it. I posted on LinkedIn, over 60% of youth unemployment exists in South Africa. I had South Africans say, what? It can never be. Show me where you got your info from. So we're not coming to terms with the reality of what the issues are. We're looking at the minority of what's going on. We're saying, fantastic. So we need to stretch our view and we need to open the bifocals and look at it and say, okay, what can we do more? And that's a challenge to government, private sector, all of our VCs and all of these accelerators and incubators and private partners and all of that. And what are you doing more? Which is very, very important for us to make progress.
I want to see if anybody else has a comment because I do have, but I want to let you go first, any of you, because this is really, very important what Antonia said to the core, really. It's really when you said that the startup is sitting with the incubation center for 3 years. This is something that it's not that it cannot happen, but what about a system around that founder? Where's the support system? What's the instructions, guidance? What did they tell them to do? That's my first question. Why 3 years? That's the most important thing. But I'll just stop here to see if anybody else has a comment. But I really want to comment on that and share something.
So the opportunities are enormous in different areas, in area of energy, agriculture, healthcare, name it. Even technology, we can do so much with technology. In my own opinion, even though technology has not been, adopted as it should in Africa, we can bridge that gap. For those, we can bridge that gap by through collaborating with other through partnerships and collaborations to build synergies, capacity synergies with others who are endowed with this, who have the capacity. So where I'm lacking, I collaborate with someone else who has a strength in the area where I am weak. That will help us to be able to move forward. Now, Africa, the need for, the potentials in Africa or the opportunities in Africa cannot be underestimated. We need to get on that path where investors outside Africa will be able to partner with African companies or African startups or entrepreneurs using the enormous resources we have to create value, because wherever, in any way you look at it, there are gaps, there are needs to be fulfilled, there are gaps that need to be closed, there are needs that need to be met. So every day we have the potentials or the prospects for investors are there, so they just need to explore them. And then for startups or entrepreneurs who are struggling, I think one of the reasons that would cause that is if you're not expanding, if you're not increasing in knowledge, because knowledge is improving every day. We have new knowledge every day. So if you're working with knowledge that is old, you can't move forward. You have to, by networking, with networking opportunities, we can learn and then have access to new knowledge that will help us to move from where we are to where we want to go.
Thank you, Desea. And I have to say that I agree with Antonia. It is very important to first connect, communicate also when we have a startup. And when we surround the startup with a support ecosystem, meaning the operators, investors, R&D teams, there's a lot of technology startups that we work with, and these are across different industry and different sectors. Look at the blue tech, which has a lot of opportunities in Africa specifically as well. And then when you look in a specific sector, the cross collaboration, you can have a technology that agricultural industry uses. When we have a startup that uses new technology for farming, let's say, if you cross collaborate, the technology can be used for blue tech as well, for aqua farming. And that is what collaboration and communication works. And so for us specifically, when we work with a startup, and I'll talk about the next steps, I was thinking to mention that at the end, is that we usually work with as many startups as possible to touch on with them and see what are you working on, what's your business idea. And the most important things is that there's a potential for a long-term impact that this business is going to create. And the second is that they have a potential to become profitable, which means they will be able to create jobs. They will be able to register an IP maybe for the technology they're using, or a specific program or a business they have. Without cross collaboration, communication, and partnerships, it is impossible to build a strong support and strong entrepreneurial system. It's the same thing as with humans. Businesses are functioning in a similar way. You need care, support, a lot of support, aside from, working days and nights to make sure it builds up. For us specifically, when Exergy works with the startup, it's a 6-month period. From the first day to the last day of the 6 months, you need to have a product ready to go to the market. We have ensured that there is a market for product or service, and then you're ready to go. Nothing longer than 6 months. If a founder follows the step and works, really collaborate, is open for collaboration with people who surround that startup and really follows the guidance, 6 months is enough to have a product or a service ready. And we don't know everything, and in different markets, what we would like to do is collaborate. Again, as Antonina said, when we leave this event, we actually have to connect and make sure that we talk to each other about different startups with potential, so we can help them and bring people and experts in the field who can help them bring that up faster. And that's what we would like to do with African markets. And we know in different parts of the continent, it's different. And that's why collaboration and partnership with the local organizations will happen. What we bring again is from different developed markets, the system for efficient and effective execution and implementation. And together with a lot of opportunities and knowledge in Africa, I think this is going to be the best fit. to move forward. But we would need all of you to work on that. I think our focus is really going to be to work with every single startup and founder, but we really want to focus on youth and female. What's close to my heart is working with youth. So in 15 years or 10 years, we'll have a new generation of people who will lead the continent in a completely different way. I truly believe that none of the South should be copied from a different parts of the world. What works there, it's not going to work in the South. We actually have to work together to build the systems, entrepreneurial systems that specifically works in those areas. That's the only way we can make it work. We can impact the economy, we can create jobs, and we can change the mindsets. So when you have 15 years olds, they will be thinking about how do I start a business, not what I'm going to do tomorrow because I don't have this or that. And so this is what I would love to see, but we really need to collaborate and work together. So I'll stop here. I can talk about this for hours and hours, but I'm just going to stop here because I'm sure you all have, something else to add. And I also want to be respectful of your time. I know we have a couple of more minutes, but please, if there's anything you would like to share.
Yeah, I think for me, I really appreciate for the effort to put this thing together. There's a lot of information and knowledge and potential. I'm going to form new partnerships and opportunity to collaborate. I'm seeing Kemi, she's from Tanzania, so possibly work together with Sahara. So I'm very open to work also with colleagues from other African countries, the knowledge they've shared, and also to welcome you guys to Tanzania. There's a lot of sustainable tech startups that have been formed. And also we will soon launch a climate tech accelerator in Tanzania in partnership with Climate Kick, supported by EU. So we are looking forward to continue these collaborations and partnerships. Yep.
Leila, anything on your side? I know you're working with tech.
Yes, I was happy to hear that, and I will reach out to you afterwards on the new Climate Tech Hub. Don't have anything new to add to the picture, but thank you very much for the effort on putting this together. It's really great to come together from different angles and talk about these things. And I hope that this won't be the last time that we will get together and talk about it again and move things forward and not just go our separate ways. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you as well. I think our plan for going forward is really to, next step is organizing a free SusTech session for entrepreneurs across Africa, and we want to make sure that we have as many startups as possible, so we can actually see what is the best way how to support them. And we know financial support is very important, and we know that we're not going to look only for those who are ready to go to the market and they already have a support. We want to really look at the small ones as well and see what they need. And so that's actually our plan is also to create a micro venture to start supporting the female founders and youth, and then all SusTech founders as well with the micro venture. This is going to be our support in a way of as a springboard for startups to create more businesses and make sure that they can really push forward and complete their initial stage and become a successful business within the first year or the second year. I am confident that Exergy can help and play a role in building a sustainable and inclusive SusTech ecosystem in Africa. And that is only going to be with collaboration with all of you in any organization. And I know in the chat, all our colleagues have been sharing the links of the forum that we have for companies that would like to work with us. It is difficult for us to reach out to 800 people, but I would really appreciate, we would be grateful if you can reach out to us and let us know who and how you would like to collaborate. But at this point, I would like to thank all of you, Leila, Antonia, Yumeni, Kimilemba, and Deseye, for joining us today. I want to thank to my team, Svetlana, who's in Kenya, Yelena is in Canada, Sarah is in Portugal, Daniela is in Spain, Harry is in UK, Diane is in California as well, who's helping us today. We wouldn't be able to do it without her. Thank you, Diane. and all of you. And I think this is just the beginning. Leila, as you said, I hope this is not going to be the last and the only conversation that we had. That's what the launch is for today. Our next step would be really to be physically all of us in Africa, and then work with all of you to make sure that this is happening, and we can work with as many startups as possible. And Yumani, I'm so excited about the climate tech incubation center. That's going to be amazing. Yeah. So thank you all so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now. Let's keep connected. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all. Wish you a great day and talk to you soon.